show, guys, this is a big one. We have found so many things that Trump and Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, RFK, they're all working on making the biggest changes just before the election for what I'm about to show you. There is now multiple videos that are showing up on X. People cannot vote. They go to click on Trump's name. It doesn't do anything. They show below is Kamala Harris. They click on her name. It works. Multiple videos showing that Trump's name is being misspelled. There's also tens of thousands of mail-in ballots that go to Republican counties, normally Republican, in Pennsylvania, that nobody's received their mail-in ballots. They requested it. Mike Johnson, Trump said they were furious. They said, how could this be happening? They said somebody is trying to steal the election. There is something going on. They're investigating all the fraud going on with people trying to cheat the system, with all the name mess ups. Because remember, if Trump's name is messed up, the record will be counted as an error and that ballot will not count. There's also Kimberly Zapata, who's just been found on felony accounts for falsifying military ballots for Democrats. We've never seen this much evidence of just the voting going haywire, going wrong in the wrong direction against the Republicans. This is insane. On top of that, one of Kamala Harris's biggest surrogates, Mark Cuban, big billionaire, Shark Tank, used to be the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, came out and he said something I find offensive. I cannot even believe he said it on The View. But he literally said that Trump doesn't put any strong women around him. He just doesn't do it because he's afraid of them. This is literally one of the worst things that could have been said. It is blowing up X right now because they said, how could Mark Cuban say that? They talk about Tulsi Gabbard. They're talking about Lara Trump. They're talking about Ivanka Trump. Just so many women. You know, it's just crazy what's going on right now. But the biggest thing is with the voting. I have so much to show you. But I want to say we got a lot of breaking news. Thank you to everybody that is subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. This right here, guys, it really helps out. And thank you so much to all of our members of the channel. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join. And thank you so much for the super chat donations. Guys, we're using this money to do good. And I just want to give a shout out, Big Dog DFW in the chat, gifted 10 True Life memberships as well as the super chat. And this touches home, Big Dog, because I 100% believe in what you said. He said, Jesus, I ask that you put a hedge of protection over this channel and these members. Thank you for dying on the cross. And thank you for giving us Joel. And I know, Jesus, you got this under control. Give us Trump 4 more years. Amen. Hey, we're going to start off with some fireworks for this. Y'all show Big Dog some love in the chat. Show the members some love. We got a ton of breaking news to show you. Let's get right into it.
Well, this is a rite of passage, it seems, for Democratic elites to smear people that disagree with them, whether it was Obama smearing Republicans as bitter clingers, whether it's Hillary smearing Trump supporters back in 2016 as deplorables, and then Biden coming out of the woodwork and coming out of hibernation to say people that support Trump are garbage. But you got to step back at it and say, you know, this is blowing up in their face. And it's kind of poetic justice because Kamala's there. They do this massive speech on the ellipse, massive production value to try to have a closing argument. And she's there trying to say, and look, it's not sincere because she believes the same that Biden and Obama, Hillary do. But she's trying to say, if you don't vote for me, I reach out my hand. I want to work with everyone. And she's trying to do that message. And so as she's doing that, here comes old Joe blundering into the scene now saying that all the Trump supporters are garbage, totally undercutting her at that key moment in the race. And, you know, she had opportunities to distance herself from Joe Biden's administration. I mean, obviously she's Veep, but she could have said she disagrees with the border policy. She disagrees with 13 Americans being killed in Afghanistan. And yet she says there's not a single thing that comes to mind that she would have done different. And so these guys are stepping in it. And I think it's going to end up making a difference.
You know, that's such a great point because right now she's bitterly clinging to Biden. She was, you're right, given opportunity after opportunity to create some distance with Joe. And so she walked into this speech last night basically Joe Biden in a pantsuit. So when something like this, as devastating as this, comes down the pipeline, where she needs distance, she's just right here, just hugging this guy, and it doesn't pass the smell test that all of a sudden, oh, now
Nope.
she disagrees. You mentioned poetic justice. I call it karma, whatever you want to call it. Do you believe in karma, Governor? Because they have not run an honorable or noble campaign.
Well, that's exactly true. I mean, I think you look at what they've done from the beginning. I mean, even more recently, their closing argument seemed to be that Donald Trump is like Hitler, like a fascist. He was president for 4 years, guys. People can watch and see what happened. I didn't see that happen in those 4 years, but what they're doing is they're really stirring up, I think, a lot of division in this country. And think about it. If they are convincing you as a voter that American democracy will end if Donald Trump is president, you can see why you have some of the problems that we have and some of the things that have been stirred up amongst the populace. So I think it's been a very dangerous game that they're playing. I think it is born out of desperation. I don't think it's going to work, but they know exactly what they're doing.
I think it's become very apparent that Kamala Harris does not want conservatives, does not want Republicans, doesn't even really want to have conversations with us in Washington, let alone the American people and your average American. Regardless of what she says, she's not from a middle-class family. She's been out of touch and in D.C. for far too long, and she's expecting Americans to trust that she'll fix the very country that she's been responsible for breaking over the last 4 years. So to put it in perspective, Laura, what you're seeing and what you're hearing is the message of a dying campaign. The reason why President Trump is so positive is there's one point in a campaign, and every single person who's ever run for office will tell you, you know when you're going to win, and I think he knows he's going to win. We just need people to show up and vote. But Kamala Harris knows she's losing. Her messaging is not resonating with the American people, and you're seeing that live in real time.
It's very hard to believe that there wasn't.
It's very depressing to see what's going on. Because again, too, what you're about to see, this is real life evidence. We've never had this before. Remember, in 2020, if you denied anything about the election, automatically your videos were taken down. If you said anything about the virus, about the pandemic, about anything of that, your videos were automatically taken down. Thanks to Elon Musk and X, it's not. Look at this video right here. You can't make this up. Look, they're clicking on... look, keep clicking on Trump, nothing happens. Look at that. It just clicked on Kamala Harris. This is happening all across the country. Not only that, check this out.
Okay.
Look at this right here. Let me make this bigger for y'all.
Yes. Okay. Wait and see if it tells you. Okay.
So I want you to see real quick, because this is the most important. Look at the name. Vote right there. Trump. Everybody, just please check your ballots. If this happens, your vote will not be, it will be seen as an error because the spelling is incorrect. The only thing that they determine on whether that vote counts is if that check mark, that box is clicked, and then they look at the name. But if something is wrong, it makes that ballot invalid. Not only that, look at this. Again, they always say, look, oh, remember with the Pennsylvania and the mail-in ballots and all those things that were coming across, they said, don't worry about it. It's okay because we'll send you mail-in ballots. Well, check this out. Tens of thousands in Pennsylvania counties never received their mail-in ballots of what they requested. So when you dig into the details, list up to 20,000. This is insane of how close and how much we are seeing that these people that are supposed to be making these elections fair, free across this country, it's not happening. We have all the evidence. We are catching them like crazy now. But nevertheless, we've got to make sure we get out there and vote. We got to make sure that we represent Too Big to Rig, y'all. Check this out.
Home, the show is done. I had put it all together. And I'm sitting up in this little like office area. I like to kind of chill in at night because it's dark. But who really gives a shit about what I'm doing at night? I like, you got to fall asleep and stuff like that, get those melatonin levels up. And a friend of mine texts me and says, you're never going to believe it. He says, Donald Trump took all of our advice. and showed up in Wisconsin with a garbage truck with a Trump sign outside. I said, yes, yes.
I
there
love
it is.
Let's go.
There it is. Why does this matter? Because for the umpteenth time, what wins political campaigns? Those shots and soundbite. How many times are we going to say this? Over and over. Who gets snapshots and sound bites? The Trump team. Who doesn't get it? The Kamala Harris team. Folks, this is just brilliant. This is just what they do. They have now.
I love
What's
it.
that? The left can't meme. He says the left, they can't meme. They don't know how to make something punch optically, seeing it, or the auditory. They don't know how to do it. This kind of stuff is how you win a news cycle. Mm-hmm. You can laugh at it all you want on the dumb communist media left. Laugh all you want. If you lose this thing, you will be crying on election day, specifically because of things like this. And you've got your snapshots, you've got your sound bites. Rule number one of politics, right? I've given you all the rules. You have the Dan Bongino handbook. I promise you will analyze the political situation better than anyone. It's how I called the 2016 election. Before it happened, go back and listen. The other thing you need to understand, why I feel good, but not great about the election, is because of contrasts. This is a 1 versus 2, an A versus B. You can be an okay candidate running against an awful candidate, and you look like an amazing candidate. Mm-hmm. If it's good versus good candidate, you may have a problem. The contrast in styles between the absolutely hapless, not funny, socially inept Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, who just never seems to get caught in an awkward moment, and even when he does, he makes it funny and not awkward, is just night and day. Fox ran a compilation yesterday, I think it was on the 5, of awkward Kamala Harris moments. She is just freaking cringe, folks. She is cringy bad. Here's Donald Trump telling a story about how backstage he thought he should take the vest off, the sanitation vest, the orange vest, because he thought it may be awkward. And then he turns it into a Donald Trump moment. Guy, I was going to cut this a little shorter. Guy made a call. He's like, Dan, I think you should leave the 1:20. I was going to cut it about 59. He said, the whole thing is funny. Folks, you need to see this. This is why Donald Trump is coasting into Election Day. I believe, let's just say I feel like we're in really good shape. Here's why. Watch this.
And then I got in the car and I'm driving over here and I have this still on. And I come into the arena and I say, where's my jacket? I want to get out of this thing. And they said, it would be unbelievable if you could wear it on stage. I said, and I said, no way. I got 25,000 people standing outside. I got all these people here. There's no way I'm wearing it on stage. They said, oh, okay, sir. I said, get me my jacket. But if you did, you know, it actually makes you look thinner. I said, oh.
You see his face? He's like, oh.
And they got me. I said, I want to wear it on stage. When they said I look thinner, I said, in that case, I'll wear it on stage.
Oh, that's so funny.
I may never wear a blue jacket again. I may go in this. I said that was the word, that was the key. Sir, you look thinner. So anyways.
I got it. Folks, you in the chat, you get what I'm talking about? He has the ability to turn a situation that would make someone with a low social IQ feel out of place and awkward. What do I do in the vest? What do I do at McDonald's? And he's just funny. I don't know how to describe it. People have been trying to describe, market, and bottle charisma for centuries. How many times I got to say it? The French have a word for it, the je ne sais quoi, which basically means, I don't know. Nobody knows what it is. You just know it when you see it.
Yes.
The old line about porn, right? What is porn? I don't know, but I know when I see it. Oh, you know, charisma is the same way. He's just funny. He's just funny. You have to be likable.
Yes.
Kamala is just really, really bad at this. She has no ability to make people comfortable with her at all. This is why I don't buy a lot of this, Trump, the mean tweets and all that stuff. It's kind of offset by Trump at the rallies where he's just funny. Now, okay, I'm trying to make a solid case to you, to the chagrin of some on Twitter, is that we are in good but not great shape. I always give you the good and the bad. The good news, folks, the early voting numbers I'm going to get to in a minute are only getting uglier for the Democrats.
Let's go.
The bad news, they could still surprise us a little bit on Election Day. They could. The chances of that are getting smaller as we start racking up the votes, kids. Remember, polls, who gives a shit about polls anymore? It doesn't matter. The only polls I care about are early voting. Polls don't mean squat. I'll give you an example. You want a 500-person poll out of Pennsylvania or a 300,000-person sample size of who shows up? Okay, I'll take the poll. Thank you, me too. The numbers are savagely brutal for the Democrats. But make no mistake, they could still surprise us. It's not doomer stuff. It's meant to motivate you to get out there by telling you the truth. But here's a really, really good piece of good news to dispute the whole doomer narrative, which is nonsense. But, I get it. Produce your work, show your work, right? Here's Harry Enton at CNN. I play this guy a lot. I think he's been an honest voice over there. Here he is with some really, really bad news for Kamala Harris. Folks, this is the number that should stick in your craw most of all. No incumbent has won a presidential election with a sense of malaise, right direction, wrong direction for the country, like we have now with this number. It's never happened. It's never happened. Don't listen to me. This is on CNN. Check this out.
Just 28% of Americans, voters, think the country is going in the right direction, is on the right track. And I want you to put that into a historical perspective for you. Okay, what's the average percentage of the public that thinks that the country is on the right track when the incumbent party loses? It's 25%. That 25% looks an awful bit like that 28% up there. It doesn't look anything like this 42% doesn't look anything like this 28%. So the bottom line is, very few Americans think the country is on the right track at this particular point. It tracks much more with when the incumbent party loses than with it wins. In fact, I went back through history. There isn't a single time in which 28% of the American public thinks the country is going on the right track in which the incumbent party actually won. They always lose when just 28% of the country believes that the country is on the right track.
Guys, that is huge. That's huge, huge numbers. I'm telling you, what I love is what I'm seeing. We're going to look at the betting markets. Right now, Kamala Harris is gaining some points. Now, it's still super, super widespread, but she's still now to 36.4 to Trump's 63.7. When we look at Arizona, super important, 76 to 24. It's on the bottom left. And then Pennsylvania is still 59% for Trump, 41% for Harris. We always say, follow the money. Remember, a lot of these people know stuff that we may not know, which is super important. The other thing, check this out. Final Pennsylvania poll, this is from Echelon Insights, has Trump up 6 points to Kamala Harris. This is huge. We want too big to rig. We want to show that people are ready to vote for Trump. But I'm telling you this what you're about to see is, if not the only reason you should vote for Trump, because of what this administration has done. Check this out.
A migrant family of 4 in New York could get over 20 grand a month in freebies. 500 a night at a hotel, 130 a day for food, and having 2 kids in public school costs us 5 grand a month. We didn't even tack on Mayor Adams' $1,000 cash gift cards, the free health care at the ER, or the free phones and free lawyers, or the $400,000 in free college tuition per dreamer. Meanwhile, taxpayers with jobs in New York pay thousands to live in a closet.
Welcome to my 80 square foot apartment that I pay $17.50 for.
This apartment's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps long.
You see that? Those tens of thousands of dollars to migrants given in New York. All this is verified. All this is facts. Yet they feel like American people are stupid where we don't see what's actually happening. And you got people that come out. I used to be a fan of Mark Cuban. I'm not anymore because some of the stuff that he said, especially what you're about to hear now, because this should just offend every single woman out there. It's as blatant as you can get in terms of what he thinks about the women around Trump. Check it out.
Around Trump. Watch.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them.
Kaylee.
Mark Cuban. Okay, I had to take a breath before this because this is so profoundly offensive.
It really is.
I worked for Donald Trump. I consider myself a strong woman. I consider those around me strong women. Kellyanne Conway, Brooke Rollins, Ivanka Trump, Hope Hicks, Sarah Sanders. That's before we get to the women that Donald Trump elevated to very high levels, like Nikki Haley, who still supports him, like Amy Coney Barrett, who he put on the Supreme Court, or the women currently around him. Susie Wiles comes to mind, Caroline Leavitt. That is so offensive. And you know why? Because it's not just about the women who worked for him. He said the women around Donald Trump. This comes right after the Joe Biden garbage comment. Okay, the women around Donald Trump, what about the women who vote for Donald Trump? Are they weak? Are they dumb? Did Mark Cuban just insult any woman who supports Donald Trump? Because it's a little, very small step from that. And this is an official Harris campaign surrogate, Mark Cuban. That is misogynistic in my view. Get out of here, Mark Cuban. Kamala Harris, he's your surrogate. I want to hear from you. Do you agree the women are weak and ineffective, whatever he said? Get out of here. And I can't wait to hear from you, Kamala.
Wow.
Look, I would add Janiyah Thomas to that list. I'd add a lot of people. That women that I just did all women's town hall with him. Those women were with him. Those people who are now in charge of the messaging that you've seen go viral, super viral. It's unbelievable that he would say this. And I worked on a philanthropic outreach program during the pandemic. It was a digital reach all high schoolers across the country and lift their spirits, that sort of thing. And he was part of that massive effort during the pandemic. And so I thought I got to know him a little bit, as much as one can, for the weeks of preparation for that. And I had been asked to do it, and I wanted to help in any way because kids were locked down. That is not the Mark Cuban that I thought I got to know. I thought that this was a man who was willing to give his free time, as we all were, to lift up young boys and young girls. What kind of messaging is this for a man who has been in business for so many years, employed so many people, and I would have to guess, women among them, a father, a husband? Were you thinking when you said it? Because there's always time to say, I'm sorry.
And you watch that clip and you see how easily that just rolled off the tongue, like it was an instinct. And then you watch the Joe Biden clip and you see.
And I want to show you real quick because they blocked it out, but I'll show you it right here because it's blowing up X, guys, big time over what this dude has said. It is literally going viral right now. Check this out.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever.
This literally is a slap in the face to so many women.
How easily that came out as well. I'm starting to pick up on a pattern here that when they're backed into a corner, they lash out, and the first thing that comes out of their lips is an insult to the people who they think they can't control. As a young woman, this was extremely offensive. And, I'll just say this. America, you have 5 days left to remind people like Mark Cuban and Joe Biden that they do not get to denigrate you without consequence. It's completely unacceptable.
I would just add to the list that everyone else has brought up. He also appointed the first woman head of the CIA in Gina Haspel, and he put in charge the first woman who was in charge of the clandestine operation. So the people who run all of our spies around the world, unnamed, not publicly identified, was also a woman for the first time on his watch. He takes pride in how tough his foreign policy is. When he needs somebody to go out and whack the terrorists, he put women in charge of that. And the other thing I would say about Mark Cuban is if Kamala Kamala Harris came on Shark Tank and presented one of her word salads to him, he would say, I'm out. He'd be the first one to send her back, and she would have had no offers, and she would have been the person in the hallway explaining how disappointed she was with tears coming down her eyes that no shark took her offer.
Look, he knew he had a gender gap going into that all-women town hall. I know they popped up some video from that. He knew that he did. He showed up. He was present. And those women, we don't know how all of them voted or will vote, but they appreciated his time so much and his attention and his listening to their questions.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know where Mark Cuban is today, but as a woman, I have questions. I want to know, are you big enough? Are you man enough to apologize and take responsibility for what you said?
I doubt it. Yeah. The audacity behind that comment, the hubris behind it, the cavalier quality, how easily it rolled off his tongue, that he could, with a broad brush, afforded a billionaire, a reality TV star, to say to all of those who served in the military, in the administration with Donald Trump, those incredible, strong, intelligent female leaders, the best of us, the treasure, that they are not strong, that they are unintelligent, and to say it with a straight face, thinking it would be applauded.
It's horrible. And you know what The View did? They said, oh, Stormy Daniels, you don't think she's smart? They literally made a joke about it. It's so just degrading to women. But this is something else I wanted to show you, because Mark Cuban, billionaire, goes on a show with Dana White, billionaire, over the UFC. We love Dana White, supports Trump, great guy. Listen to this. Just go back and forth, because Mark Cuban gets owned big time. Check this out.
Dana, I love you. You're so wrong. Trump, inflation was up 25% over the Obama economy he inherited. Ask him about Yemen, where he decided not to take action and allowed 100,000 people to keep on dying in Yemen. Talk to him about his tariffs. What worked with his tariffs? He had 4 years to make tariffs work with China. China kicked his ass. China took him to court, right? Because he didn't know how tariffs worked, and it hurt the economy. The economy was rolling along, and it got so hit by the tariffs that his appointment to the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, had to come back in and cut interest rates 3 times. And then we get to the real point of reckoning, the pandemic. And what does he do? He says, if we don't test people, the viruses didn't really happen. He holds back on resources, except for Vladimir Putin, to keep people from getting healthy. That is not an accomplished president, Dana. He has not done anything. What he got
this way, guys.
You know what?
Watch this.
His administration was the same as his personal wealth. He inherited it.
I got to jump in with course corrections here. Number one, the real wages, which is really the only economic barometer for the folks, was up 8.2% in the 4 years Trump was president. 8.2 across the board for working Americans. Fact. Under Biden-Harris, it is around 1%. No COVID pandemic.
Boom.
They have failed. Number two, inflation didn't start because Putin and the Arabs did anything. Inflation started, and I don't know whether you know this, Mr. Cuban, but Biden signed in his first week in office at least 20 executive orders, making it harder for every fuel company to harvest their product, whether it be fracking or oil or anything. The fuel company said, holy you know what, we're going to get hosed because our prices to get the stuff out of the ground are quadrupling.
Yes.
So we're going to do it retail now. That's what ignited it. Not Putin and not Saudi Arabia.
Boom. Just got owned. Thank you so much, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, with the super chat. He said Donald J. Trump is taking out the biggest load of trash in his lifetime. November 5th. Let's pray to God above. He has a landslide election. 100%, y'all. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. So, guys, I'm telling you, this is getting real. They can't stand. So, vote. Remember how Elon Musk was giving away $1 million to random people for signing a petition that they support the Constitution? Well, they said that they were going to take Elon Musk to court. Well, it's been removed from the Philadelphia court docket, meaning they dropped it. They have no basis for it. You can't tell me somebody who's a billionaire like Elon Musk, is not going to have his lawyers and everybody check everything to make sure everything's on the up and up. On top of that, somebody posted this, because I'm telling you, we have to be careful across the board. There's indoctrination across the board over just making Trump look like the worst person ever. This was shown at a tax-funded university in North Carolina. Trump's campaign rhetoric encourages racist violence. This is literally just conjecture, taking things out of context. This is where our taxpayer dollars are going. This is what that the new administration, like Trump, J.D. Vance, all them want to stop, is our taxpayers going from trying to demonize certain political figures just because they don't like them. It's so messed up across the board. But you know what? They're losing support. Across the board, we are constantly saying that it is we're getting a huge change across the board with where Trump is going, his support, not just with the states that he already has, but with battleground states. Check this out.
Fine on the issues right now, okay? Far right, Kamala Harris on abortion. She leads in our polling by 18 points. On immigration and the border, Trump leads by 6 points. 16 rather, sorry. In the middle is the economy. Donald Trump over the summer had a significant lead in this, sometimes in the polling as much as double digits, all right? In this particular moment, in the state of Michigan, he leads, but it is by 2 points, +2 for Trump. Easiest way to look at this, okay? Going into Tuesday, her easiest path is Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and picking up one in Nebraska. Let me take a few of those off the board here now, okay? His easiest path going into Tuesday to get to 270 is flipping Georgia, keeping North Carolina, and flipping Pennsylvania. That would do it. Kellyanne Conway joins us now. Kellyanne, good morning to you. Join our conversation here. What do you see in the polling? What's top of mind right now? Hello.
Top of mind right now is that what the Trump campaign's been able to do in the last 24 hours is brilliant, because the unexpected surprises with days to go until Election Day should be of your own making. And I disagree that this is a gaffe by President Biden. I think many Trump supporters, including me, see it as a revelation. This is how they feel about us. Whether we're deplorable, irredeemable, mega MAGA extremist, racist, xenophobic, we've been called everything, and we've been called that by some of these Democratic Senate candidates as well who are playing defense. I think much of this was the way Kamala Harris has mishandled her boss, Joe Biden. She tries to distance herself from him. Why wasn't he in the front row at her speech on the ellipse?
Ain't that the
Thanked
truth?
by her, called to the stage. Be a little bit more gracious and inclusive. Instead, they leave him by himself in the White House, and he's doing a call on behalf of her campaign to a very left-wing Latino group, and we all saw what came from that. So, look, I think at this stage, the big October surprise for me has been how Kamala 2024 has become Hillary 2016. They don't seem to have joy on the job, that sort of alacrity and that energy and that elasticity that shows you're resilient, you can adapt to unforeseen circumstances, you can make a little bit of your own luck. And because they tried to tattoo Donald Trump for 2 days to some comedian and his tasteless joke that Trump said he's never even met, doesn't know anything about him, you can't then evade and escape the comments of the President of the United States and the leader of your party and the boss who gave you your job. So I think this is all coming home to roost. What I'm seeing in the polling is Trump needs to get back to that advantage on the economy. It's a natural advantage. He does talk a lot about cultural issues. He talks a lot about the border. This is probably the moment to go back and remind everybody of the significant differences with distinctions between how he performed as president on the economy and how the Biden-Harris economy has left people feeling more economically vulnerable, and that everyday consumables, not luxuries, have become out of reach and unaffordable.
And to that point, Kellyanne, the battleground state inflation numbers are pretty stark. You could just point to all of those. You pull them up here. Everything in this group, except for Pennsylvania, is above 20%, and Pennsylvania at 19.2%. So that is definitely on people's mind. If you pull up this poll about Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and the family situation, you just touched on this, and I'll just give these numbers and let you carry on. Michigan, how do you feel your family is doing? holding steady or falling behind. And if you just look at these numbers here, 42, 45 in Michigan, holding steady 44, but falling behind 44 in North Carolina, and then in Pennsylvania, a similar number. So similar, Hammer and I were just saying, like very similar in those three
Very
states,
close.
how people are feeling.
And they are, because they've all been victim to excessive government spending. You know, we have spent money in this administration that we don't have on things we don't need or didn't quite ask for. In Michigan, you've got these very particularized, granular issues. Of course, the Arab American population upset with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, but the EV mandates. Alyssa Slotkin is saying, look, I don't have an electric vehicle, but people hear, they don't hear electric vehicle, they hear mandate, which takes away your choice. Look, for voters, the questions are always very simple for them. They go in there and they look at their mail ballot, they go into the ballot box, Dana and Bill, and they say, do I want 4 more? Do I want to stay the course, or do I want to make a change? That's why Kamala Harris has tried to be the change agent, the insurgent. But people see her as the incumbent. She's got her fingerprints all over these economic data that you are showing.
And I'm sorry to interrupt everybody, but this is the thing. When you were the deciding vote, the bill was either going to pass or wasn't going to pass. With all the major bills, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure, the CHIPS Act, it was all Kamala Harris. If she didn't vote yes, those bills would not have passed. We wouldn't have as much inflation as we'd have, but she did it. Her fingerprints are 100% tied to the Biden-Harris administration.
The other thing that's happening is basically Kamala Harris and the Democrats are saying, squirrel, that's not true. You're telling us your family is barely hanging on or getting behind or falling behind, and that's not true. Or by the way, even to the extent it is kind of sort of true, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, it's not as important as calling him names, as stopping Donald Trump from being president. Look, I think the Kamala Harris campaign, like Hillary, like some of Trump's primary opponents in the last year and earlier this year, have fallen into the same trap. They make their candidacies about Trump. People want it to be about them, the people. They're listening very carefully to how you can improve their lives. Give them a little bit of a release valve into the things that vex them. Americans could not be more plain and simple in terms of what is bothering them and what they're taking into the polls. And even in these closing arguments, for Kamala Harris to be going back to abortion, not inflation, not immigration, in such a way, she doesn't, do they not understand abortion voters are already baked? And last point I want to make, because I don't hear it enough. Because of these 10 abortion initiatives in these different states, some of which are swing states like Arizona and Nevada, you don't need to have your presidential vote be a proxy for your position on abortion. You can have your position on abortion be the way you vote on the initiative. So you can vote one way at the presidential level and vote the same or a different way on the abortion initiative. I know the left thought they were doing a great thing by ginning up turnout, but we voters, we're very smart, and we know how to bounce around on the ballot a little bit based on our own predispositions and
There's a
beliefs.
piece today in the Washington.
And this is huge, y'all. I'm telling you. I feel like there's so many voters that are voting like never before. But again, too, so check this out. They're trying to manipulate it. This is what a picture of what it looks like when you go to vote in California. Who's at the top of the ticket? Kamala Harris. I wouldn't expect anything else, but look who's next. Robert F. Kennedy, Chase Oliver, Jill Stein. Where is Donald Trump at? You have to click the more for them to show you a different screen with the other candidates. Who the heck is Chase Oliver? I have no idea who Chase Oliver is. This is one way they're trying to manipulate it. Like Trump isn't even an option. Guess what? Remember how we showed you about with the Joe Rogan and Donald Trump show? Well, guess what? The House of Representatives, the Committee and the Judiciary, have now sent a letter. They want to speak to those at YouTube for saying, how could one of the most viral videos in 3 days have garnered over 40 million views, in 2 days over 30 million views, between the podcast between Trump and Joe Rogan? How nobody could find it. You could search for it, you couldn't find it. The only way you could find it was if you went to his channel, went to podcast, clicked on the podcast, and then you'd see it. It was not findable on the search. This has been one of the biggest. They say, look, This is coming from the subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government to continue oversight on how the executive branch conducts things with companies and intermediaries. So they feel like they say, we need to investigate this. There's no way that big a video, that viral video, could not have been found in the first 2 days. It's huge. On top of it, y'all know who Joe Kernan is? If you do, he's over CNBC, the Squawk Box. Guys, what you're about to see, this guy has been red-pilled. I can't even believe I'm saying that, but what you're about to see is 100% realization coming to somebody who's always been on the Democratic side. Check this out.
You like Kamala Harris, not just against it. So let me ask you, do you believe we should abolish the filibuster? And you can answer after I do it. How about getting rid of private insurance? How about taxing unrealized gains? How about nationalizing energy? How about mandatory gun buybacks like Australia? How about decriminalizing illegal crossings, ending cash bail, child gender reassignment surgery being paid for in prison? I mean, what are your, raising the corporate tax rate, what are your favorite proposals from Kamala Harris that make you like her so much?
Boom.
Which of
Joe,
those
for a Jersey guy, you sound like you're on the Trump campaign, for crying out loud. Come on, man.
Okay, well, which of those
you're
do you like?
cherry-picking stuff.
Which of those do you like? Which of those do you like? Which of those are you in? Are you in favor of ending the filibuster? We'll go one by one.
Yeah.
Are you?
It is. I'm not sure on the filibuster, honestly, but I think getting
so you're not
fair
going to talk about any
tax rates makes
specifics
sense.
of what's that?
I think fair tax policy is
What does that
sensible.
mean? Fair. What does that mean? Fair.
Fair means you pay what you should pay.
Well, you know I live in your state, Governor. Right? Do you think if I pay 55% total, is that fair for me, or do I need to pay 80%? What would be fair for you? Because I live in your state.
I know, Joe. I said that up front. Believe me, I know you do. But you sound like you're on the Trump campaign.
No,
I don't know what.
You hear this, guys? He's like, you sound like you're on the Trump campaign. This guy's like, tell me. This is the governor over New Jersey.
The right number is, but
go ahead, Andrew.
Well, no, I was going to say what I think is
what is
potentially unfair. Is I think that there's a number of things. There are a number of issues that were embedded in those questions of the governor just now.
He didn't answer a single one about what he's in favor of.
Well, but I think there were a number of things that she's not in favor of. And that's
Joe,
the
hold on a
point.
second.
She's on the record on every one of these things.
Governor? Many years ago.
Guys, hold on a second. We passed a millionaire's tax 5 years ago. Everybody, Joe, including you, said it would drive people out of New Jersey. We have more millionaires today than we've ever had in our history. So tax fairness isn't necessarily a bad thing.
We have a very progressive tax system. Do you think we have a progressive tax system in the United States? Do you think it's not progressive enough, or are you talking about billionaires? I'm not sure because you know how much the 1% does pay the lion's share of taxes, of federal taxes. So what is fair?
Color me open-minded. How's that?
I'm sorry?
I'm open-minded. I've obviously voted with my feet. We have a millionaire's tax in New Jersey.
Would you tax unrealized gains?
We're not a low-cost state to live in, but we give you an enormous amount back for what you pay.
Are you in favor of taxing unrealized gains?
But she has not made that
argument.
She's made the argument. She says she doesn't want to. Go ahead, Governor.
No, I'm saying I'm not wild about unrealized gains. But I'm
what are you wild
open-minded.
about? What are you wild about? Not Trump?
Here's what I'm wild about. I'm wild about a democracy that works. I'm wild about the rich history of our country continuing for the future. I'm wild about opponents having a voice and having a seat at the table, as opposed to being thrown in jail or hunted down by our military. That's what I'm wild about.
But we might throw Trump in jail.
I'm telling
the
you
Justice
guys,
Department was not weaponized under Trump. It's been weaponized under the current administration, right?
I mean, Joe, come on. You got to be kidding me.
Okay. I don't know. I haven't seen Trump. I haven't seen Trump throw anyone in jail, but I have seen a lot of lawfare against Trump.
There's no rational viewer right now watching this discussion that thinks that Harris is the authoritarian threat versus Trump. There's no one who's reasonable who comes down in that conclusion. How could you?
You just look around. I mean, you want me to go over the 5 cases that we're talking about? Alvin Bragg, you want me to? Those were all misdemeanors, trumped up to felonies after the statute of limitations. You don't think that's lawfare?
Alvin Bragg doesn't work. Alvin Bragg doesn't work for Kamala Harris, and you and I both know that.
Okay, I'll tell you about it. If either candidate is in danger of using the Justice Department to punish his enemies, what we've seen recently is not from Trump doing it. I mean, is there some reason you think that's going to happen with him? It's his rhetoric?
Joe, I'm having a hard time believing we're having this conversation. Are you kidding me? Did you see what happened?
Guys, has Joe Kernan been red-pilled or what? I never in my life would have imagined to be hearing this. This is insane. People are waking up. They're fed up with all the things that we have seen across the board in the targeting, in all of the just weaponization, lawfare against Trump. It is insane. Thank you so much, Pamela McKnight, for the super chat. First timer. Let's go. Y'all show Pamela some love in the chat, everybody. I'm telling you, like, what I feel like, guys, we still have days before the election is here, and I still feel like something else is going to happen before November 5th. This is what I feel like. Let me know your thoughts. Because again, too, no matter what, we're trying not to just win the presidency. We want to win the House and we want to win the Senate. A red wave, big time. Listen to how it's going on right now. Check it out.
Next week, the betting market has an 83% chance that Republicans flip the Senate and a 55% chance that Republicans keep control of the House and gain a few seats. Joining me now is Louisiana Congressman, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, great to talk with you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, Maria, glad to be with you.
How are you feeling about this election 5 days away? What are you expecting?
I'm very bullish, and this is based on my own experience and observation. I have been traveling the country nonstop. By the end of this week, Maria, I will have led campaign events in over 250 cities across 40 states. And what I'm seeing and have been seeing for many months now is the development of a demographic shift for this election. I think we're going to make history. I think we'll have a record number of Hispanic and Latino voters and Black and African American voters and Jewish voters and union workers and all sorts of groups that have not traditionally been with the Republican Party, because everybody knows that we've got to make a change. And they know that their lives were better under the Trump administration the first time. I think they're going to give us a chance to fix all this.
Well, I mean, let me play devil's advocate for a second here, Mr. Speaker, because haven't we all heard this before? During the midterms, we thought we were going to see a red wave. Last election, we thought we were going to see another win, that it was so obvious that the policies on the right were better than the left, and yet it did not materialize.
No, it didn't, and there are a lot of reasons for that, and we could spend a whole segment unpacking what happened the last couple of cycles, but what I'll tell you is that this time really is different. I mean, people understand that there is a clear choice this time, that they've had a Trump administration, they remember what that was like, and now they've lived under a Harris and Biden administration, and the comparison is very stark. And so I think this election is going to be about record over rhetoric. I think people are looking at the reality of things. Kamala Harris is running a campaign totally on fantasy over fact, but the American people are smart, and they're not buying it. And her angry rhetoric and the way that they've closed this campaign says everything. That she's an empty suit. It's less than that, actually. She's actually a costume, not an empty suit. She's trying to pretend she's something she's not, but people are onto it. So, look, I think that filters all the way down the ballot. I think that the House candidates that we recruited are so credible, and they're out there, Maria, in all these candidate forums and town hall settings, and they're presenting answers to all the challenges facing the American people, and they're doing it with such credibility that I think that's going to carry the day. I'm convinced we're going to win the Senate and the White House and the House. We'll grow the majority, and we'll be able to turn this around.
And the rhetoric on the left has gotten worse. You're right. I mean, despite the 2 assassination attempts, we've got this rhetoric surrounding the election intensifying. President Biden calling Trump supporters garbage. Come on. During a Harris campaign event this week, now he's claiming that he was referring to the hateful rhetoric of Trump's Madison Square Garden rally as garbage. What I heard from people who were at that rally was everyone was really nice to one another, and it was a lot of love there. Trump spoke to reporters from a garbage truck yesterday, also wearing a garbage worker safety vest while speaking at the rally in Wisconsin. He really turned it into campaign gold. Vice President Kamala Harris recently called Trump a tyrant and a fascist, compared him to Hitler. Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, likened Trump's Madison Square Garden rally to a Nazi event, Mr. Speaker. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting to compare this to Hitler. I know you spoke at the rally. And before you took the stage, you and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell sent a joint statement urging Harris to tone it down, her anti-Trump rhetoric. Has she done so?
No, she hasn't. In fact, they've amplified it even further. But that rhetoric is dangerous. It really is. This is not about the exchange of free speech. They've had 2 assassination attempts now on President Trump's life. We've all seen that because they've been calling him an enemy of the state, comparing him to, Hitler and Mussolini. It's so over the top, and it's got to stop. This should be a contest between ideas, between policies, not personalities. But I do love what President Trump has done. I mean, the garbage truck in Wisconsin was so epic, and everybody's talking about that. They will be all the way through. He flipped fries at McDonald's and set the all-time YouTube record for the video views in 24 hours. I mean, what he is saying and what he is doing is resonating with the people because it's authentic. And I think at the end of the day, they're going to reward him for that.
Yeah, that was incredible with the garbage truck. I agree. That was funny, and it was very clever to turn it into a campaign positive for him after Joe Biden called supporters such a terrible thing. But look, I want to get your take on policy because let's say, hypothetically speaking, it all does end up the way you say and the way you're expecting, and you see a sweep or close to it. What policies do you believe will take precedent? What are your priorities should you have that opportunity?
Yes, listen, we're not going to waste a moment. We don't put the cart before the horse, so to speak, but we are going to be prepared to lead. So we have been preparing for that eventuality for more than a year. This is bicameral by design. The Senate Republicans, House Republicans will be working together.
Sorry to interrupt y'all, but they have a plan. It's called the First 100 Days. This is a big, big plan of putting a lot of things back in place, the remain in Mexico, allowing the Keystone Pipeline to go up, doing more leases so that we can have better energy, get cheaper gas. It's called the 100-Day Plan, but it is huge and it would impact America like crazy.
On this, and it's a well-designed playbook. We'll begin to execute those plays on day one, a very aggressive first 100 days agenda. Very simply, I've got a 2-hour slideshow presentation, Maria, but in 90 seconds, very simply, we'll address the top issues that the American people care about. We'll secure the border on day one with a President Trump executive order and then legislation to follow, and we will turn immediately to the economy. We can turn the engines of the free market back on. We know how to do it. Reduce regulations, extend the Trump-era tax cuts, and make sure that job creators, entrepreneurs, and risk takers are allowed to do what they do without having the government on their back. We cut red tape. That'll get us going again. Energy policy be the center of that as well. Lots of big plans. If we're in charge, we'll turn this around. We really will.
Well, we had...
And that's the big thing. The big thing is the first 100 days. Make a big impact. Show people what can be done. Because again, too, if you're thinking like I am, it's not just about Trump's presidency. It's about getting Trump in office and then maybe getting J.D. Vance or Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy, somebody else that is a very big American first proponent in office for the next 8 years. If we could have a 12-year stretch of Make America Great Again, America First, just imagine where we would be at. This is just crazy. But hey, thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. Man, I'm telling you, today's show has been crazy with what we're seeing with the voter fraud, the voter mishaps, the election machines, just everything that's coming up. But we're showing you the evidence. We've never had evidence like we've had before. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, me and my family, we're so grateful that we can serve you every day, pull all these news clips together, show you the truth of what's going on so that you are informed. Remember, election night, we will be starting 6 o'clock Central Time. We will be hosting probably a 6-7 hour stream, guys, the longest ever, but we're going to make sure that you get to see all the truth. Well, all the states, we're going to be pulling different TV shows, showing you everything across the board. Thank you to all of our members of the channel. If you want to join, the link is in the description. Joseph Evans, Deanna Scott, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Judy Lynn Loving Spirit, Big Dog Div W. Thank y'all so much. Those are the ones I see in the chat. Donna Boyd, y'all are amazing. Thank you so much, Big Dog, for the super chat. Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Pamela McKnight. Y'all show them some love in the chat, everybody. We couldn't do this without you. Tracy Hall, Lynn Defoe, Ernestine, Corey, Steve, y'all, Tarina Smith, y'all make this happen. I love y'all so much. Appreciate your support. Remember, I'm here to support y'all. I'm here to serve y'all. That flag is there for every single one of us, and we need to get the right leaders in place. Love you all, and I'll